Hi, Team 4. Great idea, terrific. It's an extension of stuff that I guess every company does. We do snippets. We have the TV come in, often in a news broadcast context, but sometimes on YouTube. I've done a few YouTube snips, and we've got some coming up for the current season. They usually are short, and they're usually a little talking heads heavy, with some background stuff and occasional activity. So I like your idea very, very much. And the whole idea of getting people into the process is also wonderful. People love behind the scenes looks, I know. Every chance they get to come up on the set or look behind the scene or look into the pit and see what the orchestra's doing and how they're set up, people find that thrilling because it brings it closer. You're absolutely right. There's a human connection in that. I think following, and it is a fascinating and long-term story because opera, from the idea of let's do X to closing night can be 3 years, and that's a long span to document. There's recently been a documentation of the Ring production at the Met, which was controversial and received huge and lots of very negative criticism, directed by Canada's very own Robert Lepage. He cost them the earth. They had to rebuild the foundation under the stage to support the weight of this set, but there's somebody made a documentary and followed it from beginning to end over something like a 5-6 year span. That's a fascinating watch. I think the sort of faster, more raw hit of the reality TV show with that slightly sort of unedited feeling is fascinating. The only caveat I would share with you, and this isn't something that unless you're a performer it wouldn't occur to you. Performers don't mind snippets in rehearsal, but they do not like people not involved in actually rehearsing and performing in the room while they're exploring what's going to happen. Now, this is, you may say, get over yourself. But the fact is, for a performer who is, let's say you're being Juliet, and you have to find what it is to love that Romeo. You have to find what it is to be prepared to take that sleeping draught that eventually leads to your death. You have to be able to find those emotions and give them physicality and then combine them with your singing. You don't necessarily want people watching while that's happening. And so you will often find performers who are otherwise hungry for publicity resisting having backstage stuff manifest. Now, I know any of you who've seen the Met broadcast, you know that during the interval they go backstage, they talk to people, they open the dressing room door, they're all sweaty with their costume and their makeup is running down their face and blah, blah, blah. That's not the same thing as being in the room when it's being put together, the birthing of the creation of the production and the characters. So that's just a little caveat where there might be a bit of a hole in such a live reality treatment of opera production and preparation. I'm sure there are ways around it, and I'm sure there might be ways of stitching something together from smaller bits. I just know from my own experience that many, I would say most performers, don't like the process to be closely observed. They'd like their privacy while that's happening. So we try to create a very protected environment for them, because they need to feel protected to go the distance. Sometimes they have to go so far that they break down and have a good cry, or there's some tension and there'll be exchanges and stuff. And you would say, well, that's the stuff of drama and who cares? But for the performer who then has to go on and do the thing live in front of an audience, it's a different context. So I would hope you'd understand that as a caveat, not a criticism of your idea, which is a good one, but just a sort of reality-based comment on reality treatment.
Thanks. Hi, Team 4. So I have to admit, when I first saw your presentation, or your recommendation, I was shocked. I will be so curious to read in the in your papers, how did you bring Murphy around to the reality TV show idea? So clearly, Timothy was very, very impressed and receptive and loved your idea. So, which is very interesting as the client, that you went with the more creative idea, and he really liked it, which I'm glad. I was a bit worried that if he didn't like it, Murphy would never be creative again. So good to hear. So great work. That was very positive feedback from Timothy, and of course he did raise the concern of actors not wanting to share some of their more private moments. So I'll be addressing that. Let me give you my overall feedback that I came up with as I reviewed your package, and then I'll address Timothy's feedback more specifically. So good job that you went back and changed. Some teams changed their recommendation, but did not actually go back and change their problem statement and their BHAG. You came up with we came up with that. We worked on that problem statement together, and then very appropriate BHAG. Great work. As an aside, I wrote on the margins when I was going through it that Timothy would be a great character, so let's pitch CBC. Fantastic research that you did on other reality TV shows. You might even look at some other shows that aren't reality TV, but like Smash, about the making of a musical, or the mockumentary Mighty Wind about folk singing. But you might want to, if you were going to take this forward, that would be another place to look. I hadn't realized that this picture you were using, as you can see on the UBC Opera is you guys in there. Great work, folks. I'd seen that picture on your Lino board. I didn't realize it was you. You have amazing graphics, by the way. I also want to steal this one, the how much longer is this creepy CEO going to study us? So great work, great anthropological research, including the interview with Christopher Gaze. And as I've said, through a very thorough process. I'm going through all your slides right now. So I know how much you struggled over this. In terms of your criteria, my one question would be, so you have fun, respect for opera, ability to reach first-time opera goers, potential for conversion, short-term feasibility, and novelty. So that's excellent. The one thing I would question is the possible overlap between fun and ability to reach first-time opera goers. Like, are you reaching them because it's fun, or is there something else going on? So maybe define that when you get to your final paper. I'd like to better understand how you came to your decision. I don't really get how this ended up winning out over the more practical idea. Given your criteria do address practicality, the seemingly more practicality idea of going to small towns, maybe it's because of the fun and the novelty, and that I'd be curious, if you didn't see that as maybe those aren't important criteria to you upon reflection. So it's not that it's not a strong idea. I just would like to better understand how you came to it. And I'd like to understand whether the concerns were addressed by the more conservative, the ones who were more conservative and wanted to weight feasibility more highly. Because there are two concerns that I want to raise about this recommendation. Not to say don't do it, but to say that I would like you to address them. So the first concern is around short-term feasibility. Everyone wants to be on TV, right? I can make you a star. And clearly, I think Timothy's response, he was excited, but he also is biased. Yes, he would love to be on TV, right? So when you're weighing the criteria of short-term feasibility, how do you plan to overcome that concern? Or, upon reflection, is it too great of a concern that this is great, but it would be hard to happen? And I don't know the answer to that. CBC might support an opera show is not inconceivable, right? But I'd like you to think about that concern, because I think short-term feasibility is a very real concern. Second concern is what Timothy raises. How I interpret Timothy's response is, yes, I think it would be great because behind the scenes is so interesting. What he doesn't seem to be addressing is the fact that why people often watch reality TV is because they find the drama, the personal drama that people are going through, interesting. And Timothy seems to be saying he'd want to protect his performers from that, right? That, yeah, we want you to see what's going on in the scene, but not their more intimate moments. Now, is that overcomeable? I don't know. That's up for you to you in the creative process, but I wouldn't dismiss that as an important concern to address, because good reality TV is not simply going to be education about the opera, right, and how it's made behind the scenes. Reality TV does tap into something less less high-minded in us, and when Timothy sees, if that's what you're suggesting, if he sees that, will he still be interested in this idea, or would the performers be interested in this idea? I think that is all. Great work, team. Great process in all. You really did embrace going through the highs and the lows of what does it mean to diverge and converge? What does it mean to balance risk and feasibility and novelty? And I very much look forward to reading about your analysis of both of what happened and your recommendation. Thanks.